Clap.
Thank you guys. Thanks for braving the rain and your Memorial Day weekend to be here. So this class is all about monetizing your photography skills effectively. So I went back and forth with like how to say the things that need to be said without offending you, but a little bit offending you because we need to be offended sometimes in order to change. So we're starting this off with talent is not enough and starving is not noble. Because I think the term starving artist, while we do use it in a lot of ways, we tend to think of that almost as hero status, right? Kind of like painters and sculptors. It's like they were never famous until they died. Well, I would like that not to be the case for all of you. I would like you not necessarily fame, but creating a life out of this thing that we love. This is also not going to be a talk at you. You all brave the rain, so I will talk with you about these things. And really, I have slides, but I want to gear this towards you and what you need out of this talk. Myself, I have been in the industry for 28 years or so. I count from the first time I got paid to take a photo. So about 28 years. I really run 2 full-time businesses. I am an educator in the photography space, but I am also a photographer, and most of my income comes from photography, not education. So it's kind of a big deal, I think, to be relevant in the space that you're teaching in, especially teaching business in. That's why I never really made the whole shift. I could, but I just feel like our industry changes a lot. Right? Don't you feel that way? Whether it's how we have to market ourselves, whether is AI taking over our jobs, or is it actually helping us? I don't know. There's a lot that go in there. I'm going to start with a little bit of mindset, but don't worry, this is not a fluffy class by any stretch of the imagination. I don't do fluffy. I'm very practical and logical, but that scares people sometimes. So I have to like do positive sandwiches. So that's what this is first. Before I yell at you, I'm going to, I don't know, fluff you up a little. But I do want to know from you guys here, what is your biggest challenge when it comes to making money as a photographer? Go ahead, Eric. Consistent clients, love that. What else?
Information organization workflow from an inquiry to the final shoot and delivery.
All right, so he said information from inquiry, so like lead management to communication to workflow, final delivery. Which, it's funny because you would think in your head, I like how you think, because most people would be like, what does that have to do with monetizing? It has everything to do with monetizing. It's in my slides. That's exciting. I like that. Good. What else? What else just irks you about trying to make money as a photographer? Pricing. How do I price myself so I make money but not scare everyone away? Is that what you're thinking? Yeah. Where to start? Pricing, or where to start even asking for money? Yes, all of that. And it tends to be really difficult because the truth is one of the big, myths is art and money don't mix. Because if I'm a true artist, if I am so authentic, then I don't need the money. I'm so detached from making money because it's all about the art. Okay. I like to, I don't know. I have kids. I'm not fed on exposure and they're not fed on art. So the truth is creativity is more powerful when it's sustainable. Because think about that. If I can both be creative and not have to worry about my finances and feel like I'm supporting a family. Maybe I feel like I'm supporting people, I'm employing them, and I'm having a good system where my clients are happy. How much more creative can I actually be? How much more can I buy gear to feel creative with, right? So creativity is more powerful when it's sustainable. The biggest lie that I find a lot of photographers tell themselves is that I'm not good enough to charge that much, or I'm not good enough to charge anything. And that is a mindset that I would like to tell you that you're going to get over, but the truth is even I haven't gotten over it yet. Because as you go on, and I will teach you how to raise your prices, but as you go on, like you still are always like, am I good enough for this? Wait, am I good enough to be here? The imposter syndrome is real at any level, but I got the best piece of advice about imposter syndrome recently. I have to share it with you. The real imposters don't have imposter syndrome. The fact that you have imposter syndrome means that you care. And that is only a good thing. And if you want to think about the emotional value of what you do, you create things that people run into burning buildings for. I actually had a text from one of my clients. She lived in like a row of townhouses, and this townhouse was burning, and hers was 3 over. And she texted me, she said, Vanessa, my house was burning down. My husband was there. I wasn't there yet. And he said, what do you want me to get in and save? And she goes, my wedding album, our wedding album. What? I got goosebumps telling you that. But that's the truth of what we do. Now, it might not be for like the corporate Hilton, photos that I take, but that's a different story. You want to value yourself, your time, and what you create. And I don't want that to sound, again, fluffy, but I just want you to think about that realistically. Any time that you book a job, they are paying you to be away from the thing that is the most valuable to you, whether that's your own time, your time with your family, your time with your friends. You've all heard it saying, no one on their deathbed is saying, man, I wish I took one more job, right? So essentially, when you're getting paid, when you are charging for your photography, yes, it's to produce a photo, but it's really your time. And having that mindset, you realize how valuable that is. Okay, now we're getting serious. Are we done with the fluff? Y'all feel good? Did that y'all come off okay? I'm really working on that. Really working real hard on that. Because I just say you guys comes off and then people yell at me. They're like, oh, she's not from Texas. She's from the Northeast. And then I get the finger. So I want to break this down first into who photographers make money from. And that might be a weird way to look at it, but I'm very logical in the way that I think. And I want to know, okay, if I want to make money as a photographer, I would like this number to come into my checking account. Okay, then where is that actually coming from? And so many of us are very disheartened by the photography opportunities today. So I'm going to go through this quickly. Don't panic. I will give you a QR code to download this. You actually don't have to make any notes at all. I'm going to give you a QR code to download the whole presentation. And I'm not even asking for your email address, your phone number, your firstborn child, like nothing. All right. You will get this. But here's what. Go ahead. Just go. Get it out of your system.
Or I don't know. You could watch back the stream we're doing right now. That might help. Easily.
All right, so who pays for photography? Consumers, companies, creators and professionals, institutions, organizations. Don't write this down. Stop it. Listen. Media publications and fellow photographers. All right, I'm going to break this down into two. I'm going to talk about all of those, but I want you to start thinking about this because it's going to make sense on how you monetize and how you get these clients later. You have to think about, where is this money coming from? Where are my clients coming from? So consumers, this is couples, families, individual people holding events, birthday parties, weddings, family photos, newborn consumers. Why do they want photography is the second thing you have to think about. Why would they bother hiring someone instead of just having someone with an iPhone, right? What is so funny?
Just looking at Dan in the back.
Oh, okay. You can't, ADHD, I didn't take the Synaptol today. So you have to think about, who are these people that are going to pay me and why do they want what I offer? So that's for consumers. For companies, think about this: small businesses, large corporations, agencies, real estate firms, realtors, e-commerce brand. They're looking at it a little bit differently. They want marketing ROI, brand image. They're selling something they need photography for, or maybe it's even just recruiting talent and acquisition. Then we have this whole field of creators and professionals. So that's like your influencers, content creators. That is a whole new genre. A lot of us kind of cringe over, but the truth is that just created a lot of people that need a lot of content. And at some point, they need something that's going to come out differently, better, or more streamlined out of their hands. than an iPhone. Book covers, coaches, artists, actors, models, all of that. And they want it for different reasons. Again, you can read through all this later, but I want to give you that whole grasp. Institutions, organizations like universities, government programs. A girl I know over here in Brooklyn, she is doing a project in the community that she lives in. She gets paid by the community to photograph the people in the community as a community outreach effort. So there are lots of different places that you can find people who are paying for photography. Media and publications, while this is not as great as it used to be, you're not getting a full-time job typically as a staff photographer for a magazine, these are still people that need work. And then finally, and one most people never think of, your fellow photographers. Whether that's someone that needs a second shooter, an assistant, they need to have promotional images, branding, and maybe they're going to have you go shoot a job, go do an assisting job there. The point of all this and why I just ran through it really quickly is I want to get it in your head that there is photography work out there. It's just a matter of understanding what you want to do and then who's going to pay that and then being attractive to them. Because that is what we're going to get into next. Are there any questions now that I've monologued for 26 minutes? We're good? So with me, you're doing a lot of nodding, which for the record, I really appreciate.
It's only 11 minutes, but okay.
What?
It's only 11 minutes, not 20.
Okay, 11, not 26. That was the part I hated, so that's why I went through quickly. A lot of us, and probably one of the biggest questions I get asked is like, how do I get leads? How do I get leads? How do I get people to come into my website, into my social media? How do I get them to notice me? How do I get them to hire me? And that's not actually the first question that you need to be concerned with. The first question or the first concept you need to be concerned with is, are you ready for that traffic? Are you ready for the first impression that you're going to give someone? Because if when they come to your website, when they come to your social media, when they even meet you in person, you are not ready to make the correct first impression to appeal to that ideal client that you want, then all that effort you do, all that social media posting, all the lead generation, networking, all the things I'm going to talk to you about, it's garbage. God forbid you actually started paying for ads and you weren't ready for the leads. You're wasting time and you're wasting money. You're paying to give yourself a bad reputation. Because if you are not ready for that first impression, then you are, it's so much more difficult to re-impression someone, right? Because you get a first impression, that's just how they're going to judge you. And you can maybe change 10 years later, have a totally different photography style or whatever, but that first impression is the thing that's going to stick with them. Just ask Seth about my first impression with him. So here's what we have to think about to get ready for traffic. Your website and social media, that's your first place. And we're going to talk about what you actually have to do. The second thing, and I put this kind of in order of importance, the second thing is your lead management system. Then you have to learn how to sell or how to communicate effectively. We were talking about this on Coffee and Creators, which you will see air, and talking about when you are sitting in front of a potential client and you know darn well that you have the best possible photography for them, that you're going to be the best photographer for that project. If that's the truth, but you don't communicate it effectively and they don't understand that you're the best, then you've actually done them a disservice because they're going to go somewhere else and potentially be dissatisfied because really you were the best choice for them. But because you didn't know how to communicate effectively, they went somewhere else. Pricing your services is the big one. There's a lot of psychology that goes into that, both in your brain as well as the other consumer brain. And what you were saying, Charles, is having a process that elevates the client experience. Because your first impression is first when they talk to you, but then there's only one time that you get to make the first impression when they're actually working with you. And that first impression is either going to leave them with wanting to work with you again, or wanting to tell all of their friends about how horrible you were to work with, because that is a great story to tell over drinks at a party. And then ultimately creating legacy clients. So the hardest thing for you to do as a photographer, or really any business owner, is to get someone to trust you, right? To trust you for the first time. They don't really know you. You looked okay online. You look good on social media. You said the things they needed to hear. But ultimately, when they finally trust you, that's the biggest step they will ever take with you. So once you have that, creating a legacy client, meaning they hire you again and again and again and again, monetizing that is extremely powerful. So how do you actually get ready and decide, how am I going to communicate? How am I going to look? How am I going to have a good first impression that doesn't look like every other photographer out there? Branding is the best term that I can use for it, but I think branding is very misunderstood. Branding is not just a logo. Branding is the entire experience of how people feel when they interact with you and your business. Every touch point, every single touch point matters. Now, what I'm going to do right now is talk to you about every touch point for your actual client and how you can elevate it. However, I want you to think also, anytime that you're in a situation where maybe you're working on an event, family photos, what corporate event, whatever it is, you have your client in front of you, but then I want you to think about the second degree of people that are watching you. So you have touch points. If you photograph a wedding, 200 people in it, those are 200 first impressions that you're making. And they have all decided how good of a photographer you are without ever seeing a single photo. I just came back from West Palm Beach. I photographed a 5-day wedding event. It was wild for someone I can't even talk about because I'm under NDA. But when I showed up to there knowing the billions and billions and billions of dollars this person was worth, I did not show up, obviously, in my jeans. I went to rent the runway and I rented designer dresses so that I looked like I fit in that room. That impression is everything. And for the record, maybe if you're doing a birthday event, don't show up in designer dresses because that's also not going to be a good impression. You want to make sure that wherever your brand is, whatever touch points you're making, whether it's with your client or anyone around you, matches the client experience. So your social presence and your website, this is typically your very first opportunity to show off your brand, right? Unless they meet in person. But typically, I would say, 90% of the time, when you have clients that find you before they contact you, they went through your website or they went through social media, right? Maybe they did get a referral, but ultimately, before they contacted you, they still went to your website, they still went to your social media. It's really important to not just post your photos. Now, I would absolutely love to tell you that your images should sell themselves, but your clients don't know the difference between good and great photography, so it's impossible for your images to sell themselves. You want to tell stories, whether it's stories about what it is that you're photographing. You want to show your personality, because most people, especially at this point, they want to know who they're working with. Whether it's a corporate job, is this person professional? Are they going to show up? Are they going to be professional, like in behavior as well as appearance? Or maybe if you're a newborn photographer, are they going to handle my baby with care, right? Showing off your personality behind the scenes is huge. I was just doing a podcast with the vendor table out in Long Island. And one of the guys, one of the two people that host that podcast, Michael, he is a wedding photographer, and he started posting on TikTok. He did like 30 days posting TikTok, once a day, and he ended up getting 20 inquiries just from TikTok. Now, in your head, you're like, oh, he must have had some great photos he posted. No, you want to know the biggest, where he booked 2 weddings from this one TikTok. All you see for the first 5 seconds is the bridal party and everyone, I don't remember what song it was. It was, I don't know, Sweet Caroline, pick something. And they're just typical wedding song. And he wrote on there, like, every wedding photographer loves to hear this song, which means it definitely wasn't Sweet Caroline, because if I hear that song again, just no. There's some songs that you have PTSD from after weddings. It's Run Around Sue, Sweet Caroline, and September. Do you remember? Yeah, no. So some of the song was playing. So this TikTok, all it was, about 7 seconds of bridal party going crazy on the dance floor. And then it pans over to him. He has his camera in one hand and he just sings the lyrics as he's clicking. That's it. You don't see a single photo. You just see how much fun he is on the dance floor. He booked 2 weddings from that one reel alone. Clients today, and it's for weddings, it's for anywhere, are looking for very specific things, and we'll get into this more, very specific things when it comes to photographers. And it has very little to do with the photos that we're producing. Love it or hate it, it's the truth. Your presentation, we talked about, like your environment, your personal style, and it's not just you. If you have an assistant that comes, the second shooter that comes, they are speaking for your brand. I'll give you a great story about this. I had this guy, we'll just call him John. His name wasn't John. It's not John. I had a great second shooter that's named John. It's not you. It's not you. This guy, phenomenal work. I'm jealous of his work. He's a phenomenal wedding photographer. And I had him come along on a job, and he shot the day, and he did amazing, amazing imagery. But he dressed professionally. But his behavior day of was just like, he looked so intense. It was scary. And even the movements he made were like, and I'm like, dude, like, I love your work, but this is a wedding. We're happy here. There's no stress. And I can see stress all over your face. He was like, oh, okay. No worries. Like, give me another chance. And I'll do that. I'm like, okay, fine. They're just like, shoot and smile. That's all I asked. Shoot and smile. And he came again and he couldn't do it. And I was very honest with him. Like, I would love to work with you again, but it's not representing my brand well. And that really is going to hurt me. Switched to this past weekend. I flew one of my friends, Jana Williams, in from LA, and she's a phenomenal wedding photographer, but more than a wedding photographer, she is so good with people. Granted, she's from Alabama, and that y'all just comes right off her lips like, oh, it's so natural, so good. But she's so good with people. She's an absolute rock star. And I'm like, oh, she doesn't really second shoot like ever. But I did one for her, so she did one for me. And man, I would pay her like quadruple a normal second shooter rate just to represent my brand at all times because she is so phenomenal. All those things matter because, again, everyone that is seeing you work, seeing the way you dress, like, they're making their judgments before they see a single photo, unfortunately. Now, lead management is the second thing we have to worry about. How many of you have ever tried to contact a company before? I mean, everyone, right? How many of you have tried to call a company and gotten the AI menu system, and then you immediately hung up the phone and tried another company, right? Your clients are the same way. If it is that hard to book you and get a hold of you when you're trying to hand them money, think about how difficult it will be later. In their heads, you know what they're thinking? Oh my gosh, well, this photographer is going to turn into that photographer on the news I saw that ran away with all these people's money, right? That's what they're thinking. So you want to be able to handle leads and manage them effectively, even when you're out shooting. So you could have a client system management for this. I'll show you who I use in a second. But the two things that are the most important is, one, communicate fast. Get back to them fast. I think the statistic is if you get back to them in 5 hours, your chances of booking them rises 80%. And then if you are the first person to get back to them, the chances of them booking you are another 80% higher. So those are pretty big statistics. And we can do that with automated systems that are not aggravating ones when you pick up the phone. You want to make it as easy as possible to speak with you. Now, the way that I do this personally, I use 17 Hats. There's a lot of great client management systems out there. I like 17 Hats, honestly, because I've been using them forever and nobody wants to switch client management systems. That's just a nightmare. But they're always innovating. I know they're getting texting in there, which is very big. But when I respond to a client, I immediately put a booking link in there. So they can, even if I haven't told them if I'm available on their day or not, they can click on that and they can get in my calendar to have a call with me. Isn't that what you guys want too? You just like, get it in my calendar. Let's move on with my life. I mean, doctor's offices have it now. My kids' school system has it now. We're used to that. So if culturally that's what we're used to as a consumer for other things, you have to keep up with that. Otherwise, you're pissing people off before they even get a chance to contact you. And client management systems, it's just a necessity for workflow. But I also like 17 Hats because it has bookkeeping in it. I have a mastermind. I have some of my students here. Hi, Stephen. Hi, Nicole. And one of my students, Melissa, she's not here. She lives in Utah. I did not expect her to fly. She got her client management system in order. She found additional income of $23,000 that she wasn't even aware of, right? She has the wonderful problem most of us wish we had, where she gets so many leads and so many bookings because she's so personable and she just like attracts people. She's like that kind of magnet. But because of that, and she didn't have a good system on the back end, it was like papers are flying everywhere in her office type vibes. But once we got her organized, she literally, $23,000, that was like, whoops, I dropped it between the couch cushions. Your client experience is also a big part of it. I was arguing with someone on Instagram recently about this. You know, Instagram used to be the safe space. Yes, it did. It was, YouTube was nasty and Instagram was like mostly safe. But today, I got called the newbie photographer that was allergic to holding her camera correctly. That was an hour ago. But anyway, I was fighting with somebody else. That guy got a snarky Jersey response. But this person, I was saying something to the effect of, debatably, your photos are actually secondary to what you provide to your client. And somebody argued with me, no, you have to provide the best images and that's what's most important. I'm like, think about that for a second. You take amazing images, stellar, the best image, best photo I have ever seen of myself. But you're a jerk. You made me feel like crap. I had to beg you for the photos because you never delivered them. What story are you going to tell your client, your friends? Are you going to tell them about how much I love this photo? Or are you going to tell them that party joke, right? Of, oh my God, you won't believe what my photographer said to me to get that pose, right? I think the client experience matters just as much, if not more, than the photos. Is that a question?
Yeah, you got a question in the chat. They're wondering how many of your wedding clients come from guest weddings you shoot that saw your work or your vibe and then booked you, recommend you for future weddings.
I would say, I mean, if I were to put like a ratio on it, I would probably say at least 30 to 40% are people that have seen me work. Other ones are usually like word of mouth recommendations, not necessarily seeing me work. Yeah, but a good amount. Another thing you could do with client experience is solving problems before they happen, answering questions before they're asked, and it saves you a lot of emails back and forth. Now, one of the things that I do, and this is your first big marketing tip on how to get new clients, and the reason why that number is 30 to 40%. You have to find ways to surprise and delight your clients. As a business, yes, you need to set expectations and then you need to meet those expectations. But that's nothing to write home about. You go into Target and you go in there and you buy shampoo and you walk out with your shampoo, that's nothing to talk about. But if you went in there to buy shampoo and on your way out, they're like, here's some conditioner and hairspray. You're like, oh, so cool. Let me post an Instagram story about this, right? It's the same thing. You have to find a way to surprise and delight. So for me, I do same day edits the night of a wedding. I do next day edits, same day edits of engagement sessions and family sessions. I have even printed group photos from corporate events that I have photographed. I'll print a group photo and hand it to them that day. And that act alone of finding ways to surprise and delight have secured me, I'll just tell you, with Hilton. So when I first started working with them was through a referral of a friend of mine, and I could tell like they were calling me for the jobs like their first photographer wasn't available for. And I would go like, I don't know, once a year, maybe twice a year, I would do something. One day, I think it was Cabo, they're 3-day shoots. So the first day we had taken a photo of the group, of all of us there, you know, the producer, head of marketing, whoever. So the next morning, because I come straight from a wedding and I had my printer with me, it's a Canon Selfie 1500, it's like a $200 printer and small, it's literally like that big, fits right in my camera bag. I printed out that photo for every one of the people in the photo, and I got there to our green room early and I just left the photo on everybody's laptops. Well, since then, it wasn't once or twice a year anymore. It was, hey, Vanessa, here are the dates for the year. Big difference. And I also apologize to the photographer they may have been working with.
I guess they're asking, are you still doing album delivery at reception?
Yes. So I deliver albums at the reception. I think I have a little bit more on the slides of this later. I do. I will get to exactly what I do later. But it doesn't have to be, it's not wedding specific is the point, right? We want to make sure that we are finding ways to exceed the client expectations because that directly affects your leads. You want to build whatever you decide to do, make sure you're building it on authentically who you are. I'm not telling you to like, oh, your clients are going to like this, so let's be a chameleon and just, you know, be this other person that you actually aren't. No, we still want to be our authentic selves, still want to produce the work that we like to produce, but you want to do it in a way that attracts the clients that are the perfect fit for you and who you want to work with. You're spending your time with them, right? You might as well spend time with people you like.
They're asking in the chat, do you have any good recommendations for a gallery sales system for digital and prints?
Yes, but I'm currently reevaluating who I use, so I'm going to give you a few. Right now, I'm looking at PickTime, and the reason I'm looking at PickTime is because they have facial recognition in the galleries, so any guest, again, goes to the experience of the touch points, any guest can click on their face and then go see all the photos of them. That's one I'm looking at right now. That looks really promising. The one I'm using right now is NView, N-VU, and they're really good. And again, they all do the same basic things, but PickTime was the only one that had that feature in it, and I really like that feature because it enhanced the client experience. Yeah.
What do you think about Pixpot? I use Pixpot.
Pixpot? I haven't heard of that one.
P-I-X-P-A, Pixpot.
I haven't heard that one. Pixie Set is another one that's really good. And the Sprout Studio is one that's pretty good. SmugMug people even use still. They're all fairly similar. It's whatever you think your clients are going to get the most out of, that's what you should use, because that is very client facing. If it annoys you a little bit, but it's really good for your clients, like that's the one you choose. Yeah. How do I like Miller's? Yeah. Miller's Lab? Yeah. They're great. Yeah. Yeah. There's also like Adorama, I think Printique. I wanted to say Pix because it used to be Adorama Pix. Printique is a great one, and it's local right here. And H&H is a lab that I use a lot. It comes down a lot to the customer service for me too. That's the big one. Good? Cool. All right, now all of this is like, but Vanessa, I just want to take photos. And unfortunately, it's kind of too bad. Because I'm sorry, it just is, because the hard truth is either you become CEO or you will go work for one. And that's a choice. And you get to have, either choice is fine, but I'm going to guess if you're watching this and you're here, you want to be the CEO. So you just want to think CEO mentality. So we've gotten to the point where like, okay, I know how to look good. I know how to build a stellar experience. And that's all for people who are in here, but let's backtrack it a little bit more and talk about pricing. Since that was something that definitely a lot of people get stuck on, and for good reason. I mean, pricing, a lot of people associate like shame with money. Even just like saying what you charge, knowing that you would probably not pay for that, can be really difficult. But pricing does not necessarily have to be affordable to you. It has to be affordable to the client that's valuing you. A lot of people underestimate the time it takes for a project. I mean, I look at a wedding, for example. Everyone's like, oh, my favorite thing people say to me, oh, your wedding, oh, you just work on weekends. Oh my God. Oh, I hate you. Oh. You don't. A wedding, the wedding day is the least amount of time I spend on that wedding. It's 40, 50 hours of work going to every wedding. It's very easy to underestimate your expenses also, especially since we keep buying pretty things. And then fear of rejection. Well, if these are my prices, they're going to say no to me. Let me get this through your head. I don't care what you charge, whether it's $1 or $500 or $500,000. People are going to say no. They say no to me all the time. As a matter of fact, the more you charge, the more they're going to say no, because that's just numbers. That's like, the bell curve. Most people can afford here, and you decide to be over here. Well, there's that much less people that can afford you. You're going to get a lot more no's in that case. All right. So you can't let pricing paralyze you. You just have to be confident in where it is. A lot of people charge by the hour. Don't charge by the hour. You're charging by the impact, the use of the photos, your time. Because in your head, a lot of us think this when it comes to like prints too. I don't know, a Printique, an 8x10 is what, like $2, $3, $4? And like, well, I can't charge $50 for an 8x10. That's extortion. Well, they're not paying for the piece of paper. You're paying for the piece of paper. They're paying for the impact of the image that you've created on that piece of paper and how it's going to be passed down. Or if you're in commercial, how it's going to sell them hundreds of thousands of dollars of whatever their product or service is. And the biggest thing that I see people make mistakes on, and I think it comes from the fear portion, is they make these price sheets and they're beautifully elaborate and there's a bazillion photos on it because in their head they're like, wait, I know it looks expensive, but look how pretty the photo is. And I'm going to put the photo next to the price because this will justify it. It won't. You have to keep it simple. There's something in your brain, in all humans' brains, it's a fight or flight instinct. And if you have to think too much, it turns on that fight or flight instinct. Like if something is burning more brain cells than it should, you're going to initially just be like, oh, no, and you glaze over and you can't absorb information anymore. More simply, a confused mind says no. So people are already stressed out about money. People are already stressed out about numbers. So you have to minimize any other distractions or stress on there. Now, when you're creating your pricing, you have to know your numbers. And these are the 4 things you have to worry about when you're creating pricing. You've got your cost of business. And your cost of business is like, what does my website cost per year? What does that online gallery service cost per year? The gear, how much money am I putting aside to upgrade my gear? Like all the things that aren't attached to a specific job. Then you have to look at the things that are attached to a specific job. So like if I'm photographing a Hilton job, I have to fly to get there. I have to fly my second shooter to get there. I have to pay my second shooter. I have to potentially buy, oh my gosh, we had to photograph in Quebec, in Canada. And the way that these resorts photos work is, well, you know when the best light is, right? For landscapes, it's right after sunset and right after sunrise and right before sunset. So when is it the most cold? Those times exactly. So I had to buy $1,500 worth of heated things for myself and my guy that came with me. That is a cost of sale. Cost of production would be like, I'm going to pay for this album. I'm going to have to pay for my editing. I don't edit my photos because I hate it. And I pay someone else. So that's a cost of production. And then the 4th one here that most people don't think about, like how much money do you need to make, want to make? Because what happens, and a lot of people get a little saddened when they start doing this math, because in my mastermind, I make people start doing that math, and you see how much you charge, and then you take out all these costs, and then you're like, oh wait, yeah, I do work 50 hours per wedding, And if I divide how much I'm actually taking home from that wedding into 50 hours, I should probably just go work at McDonald's or Starbucks. And then you're like, wait a minute, something's wrong here. So you have to think about all of that. Now, I have some intense math for you on this if you actually want to work with the numbers. That is a QR code for that. We're not going to do that here because I think I've stressed you out enough. But this is something called the 20-day challenge I put together. It's actually hosted, not even from like me, it's hosted elsewhere, but this will help you break down all the math. I have like a worksheet with all the math here for that. So that will be really, really helpful. And then there's also digging deeper into a lot of the other things we'll talk about here. You can grab that there. But if I was going to give you the best pricing advice ever, it would be what was given to me. Raise your prices every time you book your highest package, highest price, highest collection, because they would have paid you more. It's an indication that you've reached an elevating point in your career. And Stephen, I'm so glad you're here because I'm quoting you. Stephen in my mastermind had this win twice in the last week. He was able to book his highest collection he's ever booked after we reworked the pricing. So amazing. And it's such a good feeling too, because you just get to erase that thought that you aren't worth it. You're like, wait a minute. I was the thing that was saying I wasn't worth it. It wasn't my client. And we'll get into that more about how we make decisions for our clients that we don't even realize we're making. You want to get into the habit. You're not selling photos. You're selling outcomes and you're selling experiences. Another way that it was taught to me is make sure you're selling the vacation. You're not selling the plane ride. Because when you sell the vacation, you're talking about laying on the beach and drinking Mai Tais, stuffing your face with every dessert you deny yourself when you're at home. But a lot of us start talking about having to pack and walk through TSA and having them take every one of our pieces of camera out and then put it back through the X-ray machine again. That's not how you sell a vacation, right? And we do that a lot of times when we are in like a consulting situation. Like, okay, they like your work, they talk to us. What do? We go, okay, let me tell you about how I work. And then you go into a 20-minute monologue about the plane ride, really? And you want to know how much people remember about a monologue? The beginning, the end, and everything they said, which is nothing. So you want to start selling experiences and outcomes. And it's a matter of communicating to them in a way that you're talking about the things they actually care about. Because if we go through our whole process of this is what it's like before, this is what it's like, how I work the day of and what I say, like it's lovely. But how much better would it be if you took the time to ask them questions like, hey, what do you care most about on this project? What are you actually hoping to get from these photos on the back end? Like, yes, you want pretty photos, but you want those pretty photos to help your website, to help your social media, to help sell this product, service, to give to grandma, like whatever it is. Your messaging is going to be much more impactful if you take that time to ask what they care about. And then when you pitch your services, you're only going to talk about the things that they care about. It's so much more effective. And then you're not just like wasting air for nothing. So the last part of this is how do we find these clients that value you? And it's really nice for me to be like, raise your prices. And I'm not saying that for the record because I can't stand when I hear people just tell people to raise their prices. It's like, okay, there's a lot more that goes into it than that. But let's just say you're solid about that. You're ready for that first impression. You have that lead management in position. You are ready for them. Your pricing is solid. You know how to communicate to them. You know how to give them an amazing experience. Then it's like, okay, but these people are not like coming out of the walls. How do I get them? Marketing for most of us is an afterthought. We take some photos and at some point we're like, I really should post these photos on Instagram. And then you never do because the next job comes and those photos are on some older hard drive and you never get around to it. Your marketing has to be a part of your workflow. It cannot be an afterthought. We don't have time for afterthoughts. To be very transparent, that's why I started doing same-day edits. Yes, 100% it was about surprising and delighting my clients. Got a bazillion leads that way and really good reviews, all of that. But what it did for me was actually finish all of my marketing the night of the wedding. So what does it do? I select the way it works, and I'll just put this up here because I outline everything that I use right there. You just DM me the words surprise album. My Instagram is @Vanessa Joy. Just send me a message with the word surprise album. So what do I do throughout the day? I've got my R5 Mark II, my Canon R5 Mark II, and it has this button that's a rate button. As I am photographing the photos that I like, I hit rate. I'm careful about what I rate. I make sure that I'm having photos with every single vendor. So that means I'm highlighting the florals, the makeup, the invitation designer, the hall where I am. So, and then also to tell the story. So obviously photos of the couple, photo of the family, key moments, ceremony, like all the things. Usually it's like 50 to 80 photos. If I really didn't like that wedding, it's like 30. I'm just as inspired or uninspired as any of you by what I shoot. And if I really liked it, it's like, wow, there's 150 photos in the same day edit. That's an entire album. We need to like take it down. But those images right there, I'm editing them in Lightroom on my phone, and I'm choosing images because it's JPEGs, because I have Wi-Fi from my camera to my phone. I'm choosing images that don't need a lot of work. Not that any of my images need but you know, just choosing them. And it's very simple. My editing style is very simple. So it's just like a little pop of color, a little contrast, throw some things into black and white, and we're good. But those images, in addition to printing my client an album and handing it to them, in addition to having it up on an iPad that they pass around and get all excited, I also airdrop it to my clients, but then I'm putting it in a Dropbox folder, and I'm going into Instagram. This is a very key part of marketing. I'm not emailing those vendors I worked with. I am sending them a message on Instagram with the Dropbox link. So nice working with you. Here are a bunch of images that you can use for, you know, until 3 to 4 weeks when the rest of the images are ready. I'll send them to you. And by the way, here's also all of the vendor credits with myself listed first, of course, because they're going to copy and paste that when they use the photos. But I Instagram them because then that tells Instagram, hey, these two people know each other. They send messages to each other. So then Instagram is going to show my feed to all these people. And then when the photos are ready again in 3 to 4 weeks, I don't email them, send it on Instagram. So vendor networking is done. Those are the same images I would use for a blog, for landing pages, for search engine optimization. If I'm submitting for publication, same images or social media images, and then they're my clients' social media images, and I can make reels for them. So all of that marketing is done. It's part of the process. Now, real quick about publications, because, I mean, is there anyone here that doesn't want to be published, recognized in some sort of, no, right? Like we all love that. It is much more difficult to be published in a magazine, a blog, than it ever has been. 15 years ago, 16 years ago, the first time that I submitted for like a magazine, I think I got published in like 11 magazines. The first time, like I sent out a manila envelope, like media packet to people, like little CD. CDs were this thing that we like 11 times. Now, I get published maybe once a year-ish, and I've never been published in Vogue. And on that note, if you see people who have been published in Vogue, please know that there is an option to pay for that. So sometimes things are not always as they seem.
They're asking in the chat, how much time does it take to get the photos to your phone, edit, and send to the vendors?
I do all of that in the in-between moments. Because my camera has Wi-Fi, my phone is typically in my pocket. 5 minutes I have before the ceremony starts, I got those rated photos and I'm throwing them over. You know, 5 minutes before they walk into the reception, okay, I'm throwing them in Lightroom and I'm doing some quick editing. It's in those little in-between moments, yeah.
For your corporate clients, are you following a similar sort of workflow for delivery, or are you sending those through an email or predetermined kind of?
I love that. So he asked for corporate clients, are you doing a similar type of delivery? So my corporate clients are having me shoot tethered. So they're looking at the photos right then and there. And now the first time I did this, they were just looking at them being like, okay, yeah, we got it, move on to the next thing. Now I make them rate their favorites, so I don't have to call later. It's all done, and I can deliver everything in a much faster time frame. Yeah.
When you go from your camera directly, are you using Canon Connect camera?
Canon Connect app is what I use to Wi-Fi the photos. Yeah. I wish there was like a plug-in. You could plug in, Lexar makes this little SD card reader with a USB-C that plugs right into your phone. You could do that. Yeah, and it works, but I don't want to take my card out like in those little moments.
The reason I asked was because I saw somebody with a Panasonic camera
Mm-hmm.
and it go right to the camera without no like app. So I was wondering if the R5 Mark II did have the regular one.
I mean, I don't know much about that, but there's also third-party systems that do it. There's a Cam Ranger that, you know, can automatically Wi-Fi. There's Spot My Photos is a service that automatically Wi-Fi publishes and texts people their photos. Write that one down if you want to really impress people. Spot My Photos.
Also, I think what you're talking about is there's a Frame IO integration on Lumix, Fujifilm, Nikon, and
Panasonic?
yeah, that's Panasonic.
That's what he had a Panasonic.
Yeah. So that's an integration, and we're seeing it throughout being standardized in all brands.
That's exciting. Yes.
Consider hashtags to be a bother.
Hashtags? Are they a bother? The hashtags aren't a bother. They just aren't as effective as they used to be. Do I use them still? Yes, because it does allow my photos to be seen somewhere else, but it's not as effective as it used to be, so don't worry about it too much. All right, so I'm going to break down, I think it's 6 different places that you can improve. Hopefully on your marketing, is we're going to get like some really solid tips on things you can take home. Number 1 is social media, and I know just grown. I hate it too. I don't love TikTok. I mean, I love it for certain things. You know what's in my algorithm right now? ASMR. All these girls with the big microphones and they're putting like slime on it or like brush it. Like, I'm okay with that actually.
You're a creep.
It's very soothing. It's like a sound bath. Just pick one. Remember I showed you all those clients and where these people come from? Find out which one they're on the most. Pick one. That's what you concentrate on. That's what you're active on, engage on, learn the algorithm on. Just pick one. Once you master that one, feel free to go to another one. For me right now, it's Instagram and TikTok. Instagram is kind of going out for my main clientele and TikTok is coming in, and actually LinkedIn is coming in as I start to search for more clients. And the fun thing about LinkedIn is it's very untapped by photographers, so you stand out. If you want some Instagram tricks, that you could scan that QR code. Top 7, I'm using 2 hands now. Yep. Those tips are very, very tangible. Again, not fluffy. It's just a list of things for you to do. So, you know, if you have time, that's definitely going to help you out. Along with things that are not saturated is direct mail. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but direct mail, because so many people stop doing it, it actually becomes effective again. Now, a lot of you are thinking post office direct mail. I want you to think a little bit past that. A girl that I talked to recently on a podcast, she developed not quite direct mail, but think that tangible piece. She went to local businesses around her and she created her own magazine. And then she sent it to all of those businesses. And what she did, she would walk into a business and go, hey, I'm doing a magazine. Can I interview you on your business? And who's going to say no, right? Oh, and by the way, I can take some photos that'll like look really good. Do you mind if I just like photograph? And she did this with multiple businesses and ended up getting a ton of leads because 1, she got all the local businesses, photographed them. So that's, social media fodder, and it's also good for landing pages. And then she put all the magazines in all those businesses. So then everybody that went to the magazines or went to the businesses saw the magazines. And she built an entire business. Like that was her big jump start. So think a little bit outside of the box. Again, it's like zig when they zag. Find the place where it's not saturated. This is the biggest one, networking. And most photographers, honestly, are not that great at this because we became a photographer to like hide behind something, like not be in front of something. And I get that. I really do. But relationships are everything in this business. Everything. And the problem with relationships and the reason why people don't put the time into them, don't put the time into networking, getting out there, it's because they don't pay off right away. They usually don't. But relationships have been the most effective way that I have gained leads over everything else I've done by like 500%. I recently just did the math on this. One relationship with somebody that I met probably close to 20 years ago that didn't come to fruition until about 3 years ago. In the past 3 years, I've made over $300,000 from that relationship because I kept it and because relationships are really important to me. So find ways to expand your network. Some really easy ways you can do that, guys, you're in the city. Like there's everything here. Just find charity events you can attend or volunteer. There's a bazillion different photography things. Here in Adorama, they host these classes all the time and live demos. Like look around the room. I bet you some of you here are gonna make relationships that last your entire careers if you just like talk to someone and don't run away after this. And you could be more specific about it. You could be like, okay, here are people that I want to meet. Let me look on their Instagram and who do they follow that I know that can make an introduction. So you could be very intentional about it. You can plan shoots together. And then once you have that network, strengthen that network. So sharing your images, collaborate on social media, and send gifts. Oh, gifts. Gifts is one of my favorites. Spoiling my clients and my colleagues. I don't really spend money. I don't really do Facebook advertising or Google ads or anything like that. If I'm going to spend money, I'm going to spend it on my clients. I'm going to spend it on my vendors. So my clients get everything from mini cameras to custom cheese boards, obviously the same day edits. Right now, I'm sending out viewfinders, you know, the old school viewfinder, clicky, the red ones, right, that you look through with the little reel. I'm sending those out to a bunch of my clients, and I'm sending them out to clients from like 5 years ago, like a lot of them. And if somebody sends you a client, like think big. Your colleagues, your relationships, a lot of times, especially if you're in the wedding industry, they're your only repeat clients. So when a wedding planner sends me a job that I book for, I don't know, $18,000, she got Oscar de la Renta earrings that were worth $1,000. I am absolutely spoiling them to death. If you want a little extra credit, one of my favorite things to do that does not cost $1,000 is to create marketing material for people that you work with. You already have the images, you know how to work Canva or Fundy or whatever. Create marketing material for them. This is an example of like a double-sided card that I send out. It's usually called a press printed product if you're looking in Pratique. You just have photos. This is a jeweler, so there's jewelry photos on both sides. And then on one side, it has their logo and information. And then on the other side, it has my logo and contact information. And then you send out a little pack of 25, 50. You could do this with so many different people. And they're basically going to hand out, you know, marketing material for you. But this kind of stuff, I did it for when I moved to Texas. I had to start my whole network all over again. And one of the things I did, there's a hall by me. They needed new marketing material. I'm like, I got you. And I printed it all out for them. And they ended up sending me a ton of clients because it was what they put in their info packets to hand out. And then all of those clients ended up seeing my work. Email and text message marketing is probably my least favorite, but it can be effective. And you could do this in a lot of different ways. You could have a newsletter that you send out. You could have what are called drip campaigns. The idea is for you to stay top of mind. Now, this is really important, especially if you are a family photographer, if you're a corporate photographer. You have to stay top of mind because corporate, for example, they only need you when they need you. You can't like, sometimes you can convince them to do something, right? Like convince them to do this project, but a lot of times it comes from the top down. All right, CFO decides we need to do this and we decide we need to do this. Now we need to take photos for it. So when that happens, top down, you need to be top of mind for whoever that marketing person is. So newsletters, you can send things in the mail to them. Any other touch points that you can create is only going to help. And text messaging is definitely big. Nobody reads emails. Well, I can't say nobody. If you're working with corporate people, they read all their emails. If you're working with non-corporate people, a consumer about 35 and younger, they're not reading your emails. You have to text them or DM them. The best way to get in touch with them. Now, this next part's going to scare you, okay? It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Search engine optimization, which is now ChatGTP. It hurts. It hurts. So just last night, I typed this in. Can you find, into ChatGTP, can you find me a corporate photographer that has a light but vibrant style in the New Jersey area that produces very high quality work with an average day rate of $5,000? And it pulled up all these photographers, contact information, website direction. That is one of the more common ways that people are searching for photographers under the age of 30 now. That's huge. So you want to know the next question that I asked? How did you pull up these people? If I were a photographer wanting to be found for the criteria that I just put in, what do I have to do to get pulled up by you? And that's what it told me. That's the link to download this presentation so you can go read it later. It outlined for me exactly what to do, exactly what to put on my Google business profile, what to do with my search engine optimization, what to do with my my landing pages, put on my website, the imagery to show. That's powerful. It's really like search engine optimization on crack. It's really what it is. But that's how detailed people search now. And think about the progression of that. And let's go back to the yellow pages, shall we? The yellow pages, like that's where you would go before the internet to find the business. And whoever had the biggest yellow pages ad usually was the one that got the business. Then we had social media. And with social media and just the internet in general, we had generic ads or even TV, generic ads. But then as we progress and the algorithm spied on us a little bit more, now we get ads that specifically pertain to us. Now think about that, what that does to your psyche. Now as a 90s, 80s kid growing up and watching Saturday morning cartoons, I was used to having to watch TV commercials, and some of them pertained to me and sold me, you know, my buddy and kid sister. And other ones were just like, why am I looking at a dentures commercial right now? This is very weird. Maybe they thought grandmas were watching the kids on Saturday morning. I don't know. I'm used to ads that don't actually pertain to me being thrown in my face. People now are not used to that. They're used to being able to skip ads, buy away from ads, or if the ads pop up into their feed, it's ones that has things that they actually want that pertain to them. So now it's not Google that's good enough anymore because that's not showing me the exact thing that I want when I search. ChatGTP is showing me the exact thing I want when I search, and I can be really detailed about it. I can talk about absolutely everything I want in a photographer. So your homework is to implement at least 3 of these marketing strategies. I'm not telling you one because, you know what, just put some effort into it, will you? Just 3, at least 3, because I guarantee you there are places that you thought you were working in and you're like, you know what, I can double down on this. And that's actually what you should do. If you know what's working for you, find a way to double down on it. If something isn't working for you, stop wasting time on it and try something else. And if you want to really get some extra credit, whether it's Instagram or TikTok, make your social media like a mini website. Because so many people don't go to your website anymore. That kind of goes right alongside with today's demographic. They go to your social media because what did I say in the very, very beginning? They're not looking for your photos. Your photos are on their website. They know that. They're looking for who you are. And now we know that who you are is usually shown on social media. So what we need to do is, yes, show who we are, but also give them all the information that they need right at their fingertips where they are on that social media account. And if you want to start giving gifts, that's even better. And I'm going to quote Stephen again because this is one of my favorite stories. He gifted a client from 3 years ago a canvas. Cost less than $100 to print. What was it, a 16 by 24, 24 by 36, 16 by 24? They got their wedding canvas and then asked to order a wedding album. They ordered a 60-page wedding album that cost almost as much as their wedding collection. Some of you have a lot of clients. And the biggest thing that you could do right now to make money, to go all the way back to the beginning of one of the first things I said to you, is to find those clients that already trust you and turn them into legacy clients. Like, oh, yeah, have you ever ordered your album, by the way, from that photo session, from that wedding, whatever it was? Oh, you're pregnant now. Did you know I do maternity photos? Right? Try to be a little bit more slick than that. But making the most of every single job is the thing that actually, it was a turning point in my own photography business. I doubled my income by having that mindset of legacy clients and making the most of every single job by offering print, like print photos. Nobody is looking down in their camera feed from, 6 years ago, unless Apple decides to show you something. And then, they always show you the bad thing. They don't show you the thing you want to remember. You want to find a way to be a full service photographer. And most of you are going to be like, you know what? My clients don't want that. My clients don't want prints. They don't want albums. They don't want that. Don't make that decision for them. Your job is to just show them the possibilities, not to make that decision for them whether they want it or not. So where do you start with all of this? Remember, you're not just a photographer, you're a business. Where are untapped genres of photography that you could jump into? What's one price offer or mindset shift that you'll change this week? Are you ready for the first impressions? And then find where you're not marketing yourself. Do you have a question? How do I make my albums? I use Fundy Album Designer. Fundy Album Designer. I feel like in Adorama's playlist somewhere, I actually do a demo on how I make my albums. I'm pretty sure. So if you go to their YouTube channel under the Breathe Your Passion playlist, you can probably find it. It's automated, so it's not too bad. But as a photographer, you don't have to choose between art and income. You get to have both. And hopefully, you guys have some questions for me because I ended a little early. You said 6:30? No, you said 6. Okay, good. I'm very punctual by nature, so any minutes short, I freak out a little bit.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It is, I know. I'm sorry. I was 2 minutes late. I said I'd be here at 1:50. It was 1:52. It'll hurt, yeah.
Check.
How do I start pricing the files? I include the files if I'm going to talk about either weddings or portraits. I am only including the high resolution files in the top 2 packages. It's not in the bottom. But you want to know what is in every package? An album. Because think about it. If I just finished telling you that people run into burning buildings for these albums, then I know the way that you enjoy these photos the best is when they're printed. Because I know digitally, the shelf life on Instagram is whatever. Your children are not discovering this, God forbid, CD or USB drive and trying to figure out how to plug in an old hard drive that, the port is obsolete, right? But the tangible is what gets handed down. If I tell you, hey, the most important thing I'm going to give you are the tangibles, but they're not included in every package. Okay, that doesn't speak the same thing that I'm trying to teach them. So what I do is I'm telling you the digital files, they're not the thing that's worth it. So who cares if they're included in the bottom package, as long as the album is, because that's what lasts. So a little bit of pricing psychology there. Yeah.
Even in the pricing conversation, if you're working with a corporate client or something of that nature, and you have a 3-day shoot, covering a series of events, for example, right? And you're saying, okay, for this event, we're going to be doing $5 grand a day, so it's going to be $15,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you showing them on your proposal or your contract, whatever, photography 3 days, 15,000, or are you showing, photography 10,000, editing 2,000, and then sort of breaking it down in that way? So I've sort of from colleagues, I've kind of seen 2 schools of thought, where one will say charge for everything, and then others will say keep it simple, charge for the job.
I'm going to mirror and I'm just going to show you if that's okay. I will. choose mirror. Boop. Okay, so the question is, do I itemize things on a corporate client's quote? And the answer is, it depends on the corporate client. Some corporate clients want you to itemize every little thing on there. I'll show you a really good example of this. One of them, who I usually don't itemize, actually. What? Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me just get to the quote. Yeah, you can go ahead. So this is for Hawaii for a 5-day shoot. They did not care that I itemized all the main things here. That's just them. But they were toying between having me bring in an underwater photographer specialist, and they wanted that separate and itemized. Every corporate company does it completely differently. When I invoice Canon for something, they want it all itemized. So it's just a conversation. And from what I know about all the corporate companies I work with, they have their rules, and you better stick to their rules or you can go somewhere else. Right. So don't be too high and mighty on methods when it comes to corporate, because they have their whole legal team and they're like, yep, here's what we're doing, and you have to do this.
Really have that conversation and deferring to the system that they want you to approach.
That's what I would do, because that's just what's required for that client. Yeah. Yeah, no problem. Good. Okay. If you guys want to know more about the Photo Mastermind, I'm not selling you something because I can't, because it's a big waiting list. So if you are interested in anything else that I have for business, you just DM me the words Photo Mastermind and I can give you some preliminary information there, but it's a pretty long waiting list. Business is what I'm particularly passionate about, because it's one thing when people come up to me and they're like, oh, you taught me how to light. You taught me how to pose. I feel more confident in how I communicate with my clients. That's all well and good. But for me, if you come to me and you tell me my business is now sustainable, I'm not worried about my finances, I'm able to feed my family because of what you told me, that gets me passionate. And I know it's not what gets most views on YouTube, but to me, it's what makes the biggest change and the biggest impact. So that's what I'm concentrating on. And again, if you did not get it before, that is the link to the presentation. So you can grab that. It's not a carrot. It's not a grab. You don't have to give me an email address, nothing. That's just everything there. And hopefully I'm able to help you out and give you a lot of ideas. I think some of you have headaches with all the ideas that I've given you. Good. I did my job. Thank you so much.